Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, yes, still camping, yes, another absolutely gorgeous day. I will say though that it is extremely warm, so we started out with an okay day yesterday, thinking it was going to rain, and then it turned out to be around 40 degrees Celsius. And today I think is going to be very similar. It's just a very, very warm time of year here in Canada. Anyways, we've got a lot of news to cover, so come along with me on my morning walk and let's talk some news. So first up on the docket, we're talking about the Retroid Pocket Flip 2, the one with the MediaTek Dimensity 1100 chip in it. And there have been reviews coming in, and some people have asked, is it worth it to pick up the Dimensity 1100 version of the Flip 2 versus the Snapdragon 865 version? And I think we talked about this initially when they were announced, but now we're seeing real-world testing, and I'll leave that one up to you. There is a video from Retro Game Core up on YouTube that I'd recommend checking out. He directly compares the Dimensity 1100 version of the Pocket Flip 2 versus the Snapdragon 865 version. No surprise, the 865 version wins out. Now, like everything we talk about, links are in the description below right at the bottom. I don't hide my sources, and I would recommend checking out the video. It's very interesting, and I'd be curious to know if you watched that video. Let me know your thoughts about saving 30 bucks off the Snapdragon to pick up the Dimensity 1100 instead, and whether or not you think it's worth it. Or is it worth it to spend the extra 30 bucks and get the Snapdragon 865 version of the Flip 2? And speaking about Dimensity versus Snapdragon, next up here we're talking about a comment in the video we were just talking about. And this one is from Trixarian, and that's one of the main people behind NetherSX2. Anyways here, it seems that NetherSX2 is going to be getting some nice performance improvements. So the comment says, since I was recently challenged to make NetherSX2 run better on Mali devices and more performant in general, better performance for both chipsets are on the way. Most of the fixes are already in the test builds. Now, I don't know about you, but I would say that's pretty exciting about PlayStation 2 emulation on Android. And also pretty exciting for Mali users or even Snapdragon users. Unfortunately, I don't have a release date for these updates just yet, but considering they're part of the testing build already, I couldn't see them taking overly long. And speaking about testing things and stuff taking an overly long period of time, next up we're talking about Axiom. And in terms of testing, I would say no testing is being done. And in terms of taking an overly long period of time, I would say forever. So for those who may or may not be aware, I can't believe we're talking about Axiom again, but for those who may or may not be aware, Axiom was a fake Nintendo Switch 2 emulator. I believe they had a Patreon and they were encouraging people to contribute to help development, and ultimately shut the project down without releasing anything. And I think there is a fake conversation between them and Nintendo where Nintendo told them to stop, but that's really not believable. Anyways, that's the story in previous videos you can check out if you want. Axiom is back, and now they're saying they've got a PS5 emulator in the works. So here's the tweet. Be prepared, we aren't done quite yet. Introducing Axiom SX5, the world's first PS5 emulator, already booting Astrobot at perfect frame rate and graphics. None of you are ready for TS. I would say nobody is ready for TS because this is not real. In my opinion here, this is a complete scam. It's a continued scam of their initial scam, just at a different angle. I mean, instead of Switch 2 emulation, now they're saying PS5. I don't believe any of this is real. This is absolutely ridiculous, and I wouldn't recommend contributing to any sort of Patreon or anything like that because I don't think we're going to see the light of day. I think this is absolute BS, or TS. And speaking about BS. Next up, we're talking about the exact opposite, and I would say something pretty awesome. So there's a brand new video on YouTube from Hard for Games, and it's titled, Finally, we can dump every N64 development cart now. And I would recommend checking it out. And again, like everything we talk about, links are in the description below. The video itself is very informative, and right in the description they say Nintendo 64 development prototype cartridges of Toy Story 2, Chameleon Twist 2, Top Gear Rally, and Rakuga Kids are finally preserved. Now, I don't know about you, but I would say this is a big win for game preservation in general, and a very big win for N64 game preservation. And speaking about preservation and game dumps, next up we're talking about the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, we've talked about this one in previous videos, but there's a Reddit post here that's been getting quite a bit of attention. And it says, Switch 2 users, be careful buying used Switch 1 games. You can get banned if a bad actor dumped it. Having said that, Nintendo support is amazing and will help you get back up and running. So at a very high level, there is a risk. I wouldn't say it's the highest risk out there, just given the fact that the MIG flash is still pretty scarce. But at the same time, there is a risk of buying Switch 1 games for the Switch 2 that have been previously dumped by a MIG flash. And it's impossible to know if a game has been dumped or not when you're buying it, unless someone flat out tells you. But there is a risk of your Switch 2 getting banned if it's caught using a dumped game. Fortunately, it seems that there is a way to get unbanned, but you may have to make sure that you're taking precautions when you're buying things, like keeping receipts and screenshots of listings and whatnot. Because they say here, got banned and unbanned simply after downloading patches for 4 Switch 1 games I bought from Facebook Marketplace. They then say, if you get banned, go here, and they provided a link, and under Talk to a Human, select Start Chat. It's fast, painless, and you get a live person helping you. So much easier than getting support from Microsoft or Sony. I am curious to see what's going to happen moving forward here, and if there are more cases that are reported. I'm going to assume that with time, more and more people will pick up dumped Switch 1 games by accident. And if Nintendo can keep this up, I would say good on them. But I'm also very curious about the unbanning of Switch 2s, because previously people were saying that once your Switch 2 was banned, there was no way to get it unbanned. But this seems like there may be a way. Who knows here, I'll be paying attention to this one. And continuing to talk about Nintendo Switch 2 stuff, next up we're talking about the ever controversial game keycards. Anyways, it seems Nintendo is questioning them, and also sending out surveys to people in Japan with 3 different questions. The full survey is up on Nintendo Soup, and I would recommend giving it a read. I mean, I'm just going over these at a very high level. Question number 1, prior to this survey, did you know what a game keycard was? Number 2 here, are you aware about key features of the game keycard? And interestingly, one of the features that they say is requiring to connect to the internet to download the game data when you insert a new game keycard for the first time. I wouldn't say that's a good feature. Anyways here, question number 3. Would you prefer to pick up a game key card or buy a digital game instead? Now, the survey is just 3 questions, and you can kind of gather what Nintendo is trying to get at here. Do people know what game key cards are? And if you do know what a game key card is and what it offers, would you prefer just getting the game digitally or getting the game key card? I wish I could see the results of this survey. Now, I'm not going to lie here. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the matter. Would you pick up a game key card over a digital download? I mean, I don't have a Switch 2, but if I was forced to make the choice between a game key card and digital download, I would probably choose the download every single time, just due to convenience. I find game key cards very inconvenient and also brutal for preservation. And speaking about game key cards and downloads and Switch 2 games, next up we're talking about Donkey Kong Bonanza. And Donkey Kong Bonanza is set to release on July 17th, so just in a few days from the time of this video. However, copies of this game are already out in the wild, and copies of this game, multiple copies of this game, are already listed for purchase on eBay. At the time of filming, the eBay listing is still up, and there are still multiple copies of the game available. Obviously, it's at an inflated price, and not surprisingly here, people are still buying it at that inflated price, I guess just to get their hands on a copy of the game early. I'd recommend just waiting until the game actually releases and saving quite a few bucks. And I'm curious to see if anyone trying to play the game early gets their Switch 2 banned. And speaking about companies doing stuff to devices, next up we're talking about Google and the Pixel. And this is a little controversial, and I can understand why Google's doing it, and I can understand also why people are not happy with it. But there is a brand new article over on Ars Technica that's extremely informative, and like everything we talk about, links are in the description below. It's titled, "A Mess of Its Own Making, Google Nerfs Second Pixel Phone Battery This Year." So at a high level, what Google is reportedly doing is issuing a software update that is nerfing the battery capacity of a couple of different phones, the Pixel 4a with a lithium battery, and the more recent Pixel 6a. Certain lithium-ion batteries are degrading over time, and I guess the reason for the update is to nerf the battery capacity to prevent the phone from bursting into flames. Some people are reporting the phones as basically unusable after these updates. No surprise here, owners of Pixel 4a's and 6a's are not happy about this, and people who own Pixels in general are not happy about this. But Google does seem to be offering replacements to batteries, provided there are no caveats like a cracked screen. I guess there's a list of conditions the phone must meet in order to qualify for a free battery replacement. And if it doesn't, on the Pixel 4a, you get a $50 cash or $100 credit in the store. And the Pixel 6a, $100 in cash or $150 store credit. In my opinion here, and this may be a hot take, I might be out in left field on this, and if I am, let me know in the comments below. But in my opinion, Google should be issuing a recall for both phones, especially the Pixel 6a, which is still supported until 2027. But I don't know here, I'm going to stop myself before I get into a rant. Let me know your thoughts about the matter in the comments below. I would say all of this feeds really nicely into the right to repair argument. I mean, simply changing a battery in this day and age should be a thing, given that we've heard time and time again problems with swelling batteries and exploding batteries in phones and other devices. And speaking about devices, but not devices bursting into flames or really anything like that, next up we're talking about Ayaneo. So Ayaneo has unveiled pricing and specifics on their Flip 1S DS and Flip 1S KB. Both devices have the same options in terms of RAM and storage and CPU. So the base CPU on this is an AMD Ryzen 7 8840U. The upgraded CPU is the AMD Ryzen AI9 HX370. In terms of RAM, the 8840U has two options here, 16 and 32 gigs. The AI9 HX370 has 32 or 64 gig options. And the pricing for the KB is $20 less than the DS for all options. So for the KB version, pricing starts at $779, and that's for the 8840U with 16 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage. For the exact same device in the DS version, it's $799, so $20 more. And these things can get as expensive as $1,560. And that's for the AI9 with 64 gigs and 2 terabytes of storage. That is, well, these chips in general are not cheap, and I will say that, and the prices are kind of reflecting that. But that is very pricey for a handheld device. It's also worth noting that I think these are the early bird prices, so expect them probably to go up a couple of $100 after release. Let me know your thoughts about the pricing in the comments below. Would you be interested in paying almost $1,600 for a handheld with an AMD Ryzen AI9 HX370 with 64 gigs and 2 terabytes of storage? Now, no doubt, I'm expecting these to be performance beasts, and I'm hoping that they live up to that expectation, given the fact that these devices are not cheap. But again, at the same time here, the CPUs that they are using are no joke either. And speaking about jokes, last up here, we're talking about YouTube and YouTuber Fream. I think I said that right. If you're a fan of Fream, if you watch Fream's videos, and you can't right now, well, there's a big reason behind that. So Fream has tweeted this out, and this one is very surprising. So here's the notice from YouTube. Hi Fream, we'd like to inform you that we've received a trademark complaint regarding your YouTube account. After review, the following content has been removed from YouTube. Channel Fream. Going forward, you won't be able to access, possess, or create any other YouTube channels. So basically here, Fream's whole channel has been nuked because of a trademark complaint. And the crazy part about this is that Fream is the one who owns the trademark. They say here, bro, you can't make this up. I'm the one that owns that trademark. You bonked my whole ass account, my YouTube Premium. How am I supposed to watch Markiplier now? Furthermore, Fream's lawyer has spoken up on the matter. And they say, we submitted the trademark infringement notice on behalf of this Fream, the registered trademark holder, regarding another channel. Please review immediately. So it looks like YouTube got this wrong and took down the completely wrong channel. Now, obviously, there's a lot here that I could go on and rant about, but the big problem is that YouTube is screwed up, and it's really, really hard to get that rectified because it's really, really hard to talk to a real person. In my opinion here, most of YouTube's support now is just bots. And with bots, it's really hard to get anywhere. Hopefully YouTube gets this cleaned up. I'm assuming Fream is financially impacted from this from a number of different angles, and I'm curious to see what happens there, if anything. And I'm hoping here that YouTube can learn from this and get better. I doubt it, but you never know. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. I didn't see any fluffs running around. I'm assuming it's too hot for them. And there were some pretty neat rare woodpeckers in the trees, but I wasn't able to get them on camera. But we talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate. Save your state.